You did not find this message by accident. Something is shifting behind the scenes, and deep down you can already feel it. Maybe it started as a strange thought that would not leave you alone. Maybe it was a memory that came back out of nowhere. Maybe a name, a song, a place, or a feeling returned at the exact moment you thought you were finally past it. Stay with me, because this is where it gets real. There are some connections that do not end just because the conversation ended. There are some people who leave, yet somehow never fully leave your inner world. Time moves. Life changes. People get busy. Days become months, and months become long seasons of silence. But silence does not always mean feelings are gone. Sometimes it only means fear got there first. Someone from your past has been carrying words they never had the courage to say. For a long time, they convinced themselves that keeping quiet was the safest move. They buried what they felt under work, pressure, routine, and distraction. They acted normal. They smiled when they had to. They kept going. But under all of that, something stayed alive. And now it is getting harder for them to hide it. What they feel has been building in private, and the weight of it is becoming too heavy to carry alone. So if you have been sensing a change lately, if something feels closer than before, trust that feeling, because what has been hidden may not stay hidden much longer. The first truth is simple, and it matters more than you know. You never fully left their mind. Life kept moving around them, yes, but your presence stayed in places they could not explain away. In quiet moments, your memory returned without warning. A familiar street, a late-night song, a scent in the air. A random detail that should have meant nothing, yet suddenly brought everything back. At first, they tried to call it habit, then nostalgia, then just one more memory refusing to fade. But none of those answers felt honest enough, because the truth went deeper. You were never just someone they used to know. You became part of their inner life. And the strangest part was not only missing you in pain, it was missing you in peace. When something good happened, you were the person they wanted to tell. When they felt proud, you were the one they imagined beside them. When life became calm, they noticed the empty place where your energy used to be. That is when reality began to hit them in a way it never had before. Not everyone understood them the way you did. Not everyone saw past the surface. Not everyone made them feel truly known. And once they understood that, they could not unknow it. Keep listening, because this next part explains why so much stayed unsaid. It was not because you meant nothing. It was because what you meant felt too important to risk. More than once they thought about reaching out. More than once they opened the message, typed the words, stared at your name, then erased everything before sending it. They came close. Closer than you would guess. Calls were almost made. Messages were written and deleted. Moments passed where one small act of courage could have changed everything. But each time, fear stepped in and took control. What if you no longer cared? What if you had truly moved on? What if hearing from them only brought back hurt that had barely started to heal? Those questions became walls, and after a while the silence grew into its own prison. This is the lesson they learned too late. Silence can destroy what feelings alone cannot save. Caring is not always enough when nothing is spoken. Emotion hidden too long starts to rot in the dark. Love cannot breathe where communication disappears. And now, looking back, they see it clearly. Some chances are not endless. Some people enter your life once and leave a mark that never fades. Some bonds are too rare to treat casually. They understand that now in a way they did not before. Every connection after you felt thinner, incomplete, temporary. No matter how hard they tried, they could not recreate what was once there. It kept comparing itself on its own. That is what shook them. That is what forced them to stop pretending. And once a person stops pretending, the truth starts asking for a voice. Now comes the part that changes everything. They no longer want to live with unspoken words. Something inside them has turned. The excuses do not feel strong anymore. The fear is still there, but it no longer rules them like it used to. The need to be honest has grown bigger than the need to stay protected. For so long they believed silence kept them safe, but now they see the cost of that silence. Every message never sent had a price. Every avoided conversation had a price. Every missed chance carried its own quiet regret. And those regrets have started to pile up. They are standing between two paths now. One path leads back into distance, into the same old mask, into another season of pretending not to care. The other path leads toward truth, discomfort, and finally saying what should have been said a long time ago. And for the first time, truth feels more important than comfort. If they reach out, it will not be because they are confused. It will be because they are finally clear. Clear about what was lost, clear about what mattered, clear about how deeply your absence changed them. They are not expecting perfection. They are not demanding another chance. They are not showing up to control the ending. What they want is simple and heavy at the same time. Honesty, a real conversation, a moment where nothing stays hidden anymore. And if you are still here, this is important because the next move may come sooner than expected. Lately, signs have been getting louder. You may have noticed little reminders slipping into your days at strange times. A place that suddenly means more than it should. A memory showing up with unusual force. A song returning at the exact second your mind drifted somewhere you thought was finished. These moments may look small, but they carry weight. Old emotions are rising, and the person who once walked away is not the same as they were before. Life has been teaching them in ways comfort never could. Experience has exposed what pride used to hide. Reflection has made old mistakes impossible to ignore. They have spent more time looking back than anyone around them realizes. They have replayed choices, revisited silence, studied moments where fear made decisions for them. And now they are beginning to understand that real strength is not distance. Real strength is honesty. Real courage is not acting unaffected. Real courage is admitting the truth after hiding from it for too long. But this is not only about their change, it is about yours too. Because while they have been wrestling with regret, you have been growing in a different direction. You have learned to stand in your own value. You have discovered strength that no longer depends on someone else choosing you. That matters more than you know. So if communication happens, do not lose yourself in the emotion of the moment. Listen to actions. Watch consistency. Let time reveal what words alone cannot prove. Stay with me, because that shift in you is exactly what changes the entire story now. You are no longer in the same emotional place where this began. That version of you, the one who searched for signs, waited for answers, and questioned your own worth, is fading into the past. You have grown through the silence. You have healed in ways they did not expect. You built strength where pain once lived, and that has changed the balance completely. You no longer need answers in the desperate way you once did. You no longer need anyone's decision to tell you who you are. That quiet power in you is part of what pulls them back now. They see your growth. They feel your distance in a new way. They notice that you are not standing still anymore. And suddenly, the old games, the old pride, the old control no longer work. If they come back, they cannot return with half-truths and shallow effort. They must come differently. They must meet you with the same depth you offered before. That is the part they are beginning to understand. The connection was real, but they were not ready for the truth of it then. Now they are waking up to what you meant, and with that awakening comes urgency. They are starting to fear losing their chance with you forever. That fear is pushing them toward action. The first move may be small, a short message, a reaction, a simple comment, a quiet opening. Do not mistake the size of the gesture for the size of the feeling behind it. Sometimes the smallest contact carries the heaviest emotion, and sometimes one imperfect moment can break years of silence wide open. While they wrestle with all of this, you are stepping into clarity. The confusion is thinning out. The endless questions are losing power. You are starting to see the past from wisdom instead of longing, and that changes everything. When they finally return to your awareness, you will not be meeting them from the same wound. You will not be reacting from panic, hunger, or hope alone. You will be responding from strength. That is why what comes next does not have to shake you. You have already done the difficult inner work. You reclaimed your energy. You rebuilt your confidence. You remembered your worth. So if truth arrives now, it arrives at a time when you are strong enough to hold it without breaking. And that matters because this final stage is not just about reunion, it is about freedom. If they return with sincerity, accountability, and real growth, then maybe a new chapter becomes possible. If they return carrying the same old patterns, you will see it quickly. You will recognize the difference. And if needed, you will walk away without regret. That is your power now. You are no longer waiting for someone else to decide your value. You already know it. The burden of speaking the truth is no longer on you. It belongs to them. The silence has lasted long enough. The pressure is building. Their pride is getting weaker under the weight of regret. and what they once pushed down is now rising to the surface, stronger every day. They are beginning to see that much of what they called moving on was only distraction. It looked like progress on the outside, but inside, the deeper truth stayed untouched. They kept themselves busy. They filled the empty spaces. They tried to replace feeling with motion. But eventually they learned that running from emotion does not create peace. It creates loneliness. And loneliness has a way of making truth louder at night. Now their focus is changing. Their priorities are changing. Their perspective is changing. They are finally admitting to themselves that letting you go may have been one of the biggest mistakes of their life. Fear still exists, uncertainty still exists, but the desire to speak honestly is beginning to outweigh both. They are tired of waiting for the perfect moment, tired of searching for the perfect words, tired of inventing reasons that make silence easier to excuse. What remains now is painfully simple. They miss you. They miss your presence. They miss the feeling of being understood. They miss the version of themselves that seemed more real when you were around. And that truth follows them everywhere. Through quiet mornings, through crowded afternoons, through long nights when there is no noise left to hide behind. For a long time, they believed enough time would erase it. That distance would weaken it. That life would replace what was lost. None of that happened. Some people leave a mark too deep for time to remove. Some connections stay alive no matter how far life seems to carry them away. There is also something else they are starting to understand. And this part matters deeply. You saw parts of them that most people never reached. Most people only knew the safe version, the guarded version, the version built to survive, not to be known. But you saw underneath that. You noticed strengths they ignored. You recognized possibilities in them before they could recognize them in themselves. You saw them more clearly than they were comfortable with, and that kind of being seen is hard to forget. It leaves a mark. It creates a mirror they cannot easily replace. That is one reason your memory keeps returning with such force. Through your eyes, they caught a glimpse of who they could have been if fear had not gotten in the way. And now they want to face that truth. Not the polished version, the real one. The one with mistakes, regret, feeling, and honesty. But while they move toward that hard truth, you are no longer standing where they left you. Your strength is steadier now, more grounded, more real. A message from them does not carry the same power it once would have. Their name may still stir something, yes, but it no longer controls the room inside you. Your happiness is no longer tied to their choices. Their presence is no longer a storm that can take you under. It is only a ripple moving across a much deeper self. And because of that, if they come forward now, you will be able to see clearly. No performance will fool you for long. No carefully chosen words will matter unless real action stands behind them. This is not about proving yourself anymore. That chapter is over. You already lived through the hardest part. You already carried the silence, the confusion, the self-doubt, the ache of not knowing. Now the pressure has shifted. Now they are the one facing the unanswered questions. They are the one confronting the consequences. They are the one wondering if the door is still open, if there is still room for honesty, if there is still a way to speak before it becomes too late. And the deeper purpose behind all of this is release. For too long, unfinished energy has been sitting between what happened and what was never said. There have been assumptions, stories created in the dark, empty spaces filled with fear and guesswork. But truth has a way of clearing the fog. It allows people to finally see what something really was, and just as importantly, what it was not. That does not mean you must reopen old doors. It does not mean you owe anyone a second chance. It only means clarity is coming. And one of the most freeing truths waiting for you is this. Many of the reasons you blamed yourself were never yours to carry. Many of the doubts that kept you up at night were born from their fear, not your failure. Many of the questions that made you feel small had nothing to do with your value. Let that sink in. Because when you truly understand that, something heavy begins to fall away. And once it does, you can move forward lighter, clearer, and stronger than before. Right now, as these final pieces begin to move, they are struggling with the thought of reaching out more than ever. Your image comes back unexpectedly. Past conversations replay in their mind. Small details they once overlooked suddenly feel important. They keep returning to moments where they could have said more, listened better, chosen differently. What started as occasional reflection has become a constant private conversation they cannot shut off. Their emotions are pushing them toward action. Their heart wants honesty. Their mind still searches for perfect timing, but slowly they are learning something powerful. Perfection is not required. An imperfect message can still open the door. An imperfect confession can still bring truth into the light. So if something has felt different lately, if your intuition has been picking up on movement you cannot explain, do not ignore it. A shift is happening. The waiting season is ending. The mystery is thinning out. Contact may arrive in a form that looks simple on the surface, but behind it stands a much larger emotional storm. And when that moment comes, remember this above all else. You are ready. Ready for the truth. Ready for clarity. Ready to decide what belongs in your future and what does not. Whether this leads to a new beginning, a final goodbye, or the peace that comes from finally understanding what was real, the power is no longer outside of you. It is in your hands now. You chose yourself. You built yourself back up. And because of that, whatever comes next will not break you. It will reveal you.